Today we worked on the Mt09 windshield and Turbo Steve's fender. But before the video actually starts, I have a couple of minutes I wanted to devote to how I want to change the channel in the near future, something that may be interesting to you, something that maybe you would like to participate in. I don't know how it's going to work, but I've had that idea for a while, and I wanted to explain it. If you're a video subscriber to my channel, please take the time to listen to it and let me know what you think, if it's a good idea or not. It'll be a change to the way we do the channel, and I'm just looking for some good feedback. I've already gotten some, but we want to make it as good as we possibly can make it. So today we've hit on a spectacular day weather-wise for painting. It's up around 40 degrees already. It's not even lunchtime, it's 40 degrees. The sun is out. We're going to try to get our Evil Twin windshield and Turbo Steve's fender painted and in clear today. That's probably going to happen without a problem, and we won't even have to rush to do it. But here's the thing, I wanted to use this opportunity to announce something. I don't want to trip on a motorcycle either. I wanted to announce something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, I never was really good at and reliable about answering questions in the comments section of YouTube. But I decided there was a reason I didn't do it. I found at one point in time, and I've been doing this for 10 years, at one point in time I wound up spending more time answering questions one-on-one, and I said it's easier just to put it on the video. And maybe other people wanted to ask the same question, and I got a question today that made me think this might be a good time to do it. So what I thought, and Karen thought it might be a good idea too, is so we're going to try to do it about once a week, maybe more. We'll see how it plays out. I'm going to keep track of all the comments on the videos. Now in this case we're painting the Mt09 windshield. I got on the wheels, I probably have a ton of comments that I think they're 99.9% positive. Probably somebody who doesn't like it. That's okay too, we could be friends. But here's the whole point. I had a question this morning and I decided I'm going to put this on video. And I realized I have told that story already on a video, but it's a story worth telling twice. And I'll use this opportunity, maybe in the course of painting this, to answer another question that gets asked over and over and over. So what I was thinking of doing today, maybe you have some, make it even better, some comment, because the idea of what we're doing is to share information. It's not to take a victory lap or, hey, look at the trophy I won, or something like that. We want to share information among the people that have a passion for motorcycling, model airplanes, painting, or life in general. Eating cookies is important too. But I have accumulated an amount of knowledge from, I started riding motorcycles probably before I was in my teens. And what happens is, you learn things. In my case, I haven't learned a lot. I've learned things the hard way. I haven't learned anything the easy way, but I've gotten good at watching other people make a mistake, and then I learn from it. That I can pass that on. So here's the thing. I have a really good amount of information about painting to share. Now, one thing good about the painting that I'm showing, you don't have to go to a college to figure out how to do it. You need a Harbor Freight gun and a backyard and a sunny day, and maybe a little patience painting test pieces. And maybe watch a couple people's videos beside mine. They may have some even better ideas than I have. But the idea of sharing information via YouTube is such a wonderful thing. And the generation now, the generation we live in, is the only generation that's ever lived on the planet Earth that's been able to do it so conveniently, or at all, to be honest, at all. So in the case of this, we're going to paint this windshield, we're going to paint Steve's fender. But I want to think about how I want to do this in the next couple of days. I want to, like, once a week I'm making up a thing like Ask Wendy, question and answer, and I'll copy all the YouTube comments, and then once a week try to answer them, but answer them to everybody. So that, like a person that wants to paint a small part like this, well, you might have that opportunity. Now, another thing to keep in mind, if that works out the way I want it to work out, and I hope it does, one of the things that's really handy to know is I have turned on YouTube channels. Let's go with carbon fiber, just as an example. And there's somebody who has a $20,000 autoclave and a 5-gallon bucket of $1,000 a gallon resin. I don't have that. This is geared toward the average person that has children in college or whatever, and live in an average size home, an average amount of money. So that's useful information. I don't need to know how to run a $20,000 autoclave, and I don't need to know how to do things that are beyond my mean. Polo ponies, what to feed a polo pony. But what I want to do is gear my question and answer to people that are like I am. I'm a backyard mechanic. I have no formal training. Everything you see that I've learned, including the painting, I've never gone to painting school. And I would guarantee you something, if I went to the painting school, I'd learn something. But I've learned it the hard way. So, and Ray Straub, I want to share this. Ray Straub, one of my best friends for oh my God, since the 70s. He had a good saying. He said, I never want to go to a track day and go to rider school because they'll teach me how to ride. And believe me, Ray is a world-class rider. He doesn't need anybody to teach him how to ride. Anyway, I just thought this was a great time. I want to share it with people and see what comes up in the comments section. If they like it, as soon as I post one of these question and answer videos, I'm going to try to see if there's a good response to it. If there isn't, didn't cost me a penny, didn't cost you a penny. That's the best thing with YouTube. But if there's something about it that we can make it better, or we can make it more usable, user-friendly, I'm going to try to think about it. And Karen said you should do it once a week. Now, I don't know I don't know, because basically, the reason I have been lax about it, again, I want to repeat this. It isn't like I think I'm some kind of big shot and, your question is not worth answering. No, what the reality is I know I have a finite time. I need to sleep 8 hours a day. I need to spend a certain amount of time with my family, my grandson. Then I have this gap of time every day of about 4 hours that I can do motorcycling, painting, clean the pond, whatever, feed the birds. That gap, if I take that gap and spend 3 hours on the computer answering questions one-to-one, I haven't really done that much. I put little things out, but if I have YouTube putting it out, I have a tractor plant in the field. I have a lot more ability to share that. And I hope the people that pick up some good information, and I'm going to start with one piece of information worth sharing. If you go out and you have better information or newer information, send me the link to the video and please share. Some people you encourage them and they think, I don't know if I want to do that. Once you start doing it, you realize, now I've benefited from YouTube for so many years, it's ridiculous. Even the ice maker in my refrigerator, I can't even, how to fix my furnace filter. Everything that I've just gone right to YouTube. And the guy I have to give credit for that is Glenn. We were working on Glenn's Ducati here in the garage. We needed to know how to do a certain thing. I don't remember what it was because we were pulling the engine out of the bike and we needed to know something. He said, oh, I'll look on YouTube. All of a sudden he had 10 videos showing him how to do it. And by lunchtime we had the engine out and in my grandson's wagon. Absolutely true story. It's true. It's on video. You don't even have to believe me if you don't like it. But here's the thing. It's a new thing. I don't know if my channel, we have over, I think we're 2,500 now, videos out there. There's about 1,000 of the airplane videos, which a lot of them cover painting. But so there's a lot of volume of stuff. But what I want to try to do now is try to do this question and answer thing. If it doesn't work out, we'll just do it once every 2 weeks, or once every month, or once every... Hey, how old? I'm 76. How many more years have I got to go? But anyway, we're going to start that today. I'm going to start with the first thing that I think is a significant question. So this was the first question. This will be my first question and answer. And it was very nicely worded. And I'm not going to use anybody's name. So if you have a question, I'm not going to expose anybody, or unless you want to be given credit for some great invention that I don't know. Why do I have the stock blinkers on the bike? They're ugly. They're big. Now, a lot of people put these little baby blinkers. I've seen them on it. Usually it's younger people or people that have never experienced some of the things I've experienced. I leave these blinkers on, and I'm going to explain why. Even my RD has big, even when I had all the cafe racer stuff, it had big blinkers. Now, big blinkers, and I want to really detail the story out. So, and this was a question that was asked, and I think it's the most appropriate one. It's easy to answer, and it's something everybody, especially newer riders, might benefit from. Again, you look around my little garage, you don't see any little tiny blinkers, especially little LEDs that you can't see unless you're in a dark garage. And even the FCR has these very, very bright blinkers that they're way, way brighter than the ones that come with the bike. And those are double bright And boy, are they bright. They are way brighter than the ones that come with the bike. So I was riding the R1 with Luciano. We were going through the park, and we were going a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 miles over the speed limit, and I was in front. And of course, I wanted to make a left-hand turn, and at the time I had these cute little blinkers. Oh, they look so sexy. Oh my, like a bikini on a woman. But the reality is, when you're going really fast, you don't see them at all. You don't even see these sometimes when you're going at way above speed. So what had happened is, I was going to make a left-hand turn. Luciano decided at that exact minute, did not see the blinkers, went to pass me, and we missed each other at speed. I might have touched the end of his bike. I don't know. But we both jammed on the brakes, pulled over, and I went home and put those blinkers on the bike. And if that happens with a car, it's even worse, because the people in the car are usually doing something else beside paying attention. They're texting their girlfriend or something. So these blinkers more than once have saved my life. And that's the first question I'm going to answer: why I have big or bright, very bright blinkers on the bikes. And usually the stock blinkers that come on a bike are so bright they have to pass some kind of government test. Well, you know what? When it's your life at stake, I think it's worth the little ugliness that they might be. In fact, on this bike, the stock blinkers are they're built in pretty nicely. It's pretty cool. And be honest, I was tempted. When I did the graves, I saw some of the other people that were doing the graves, the little baby blinkers that the size of this screw head. And yeah, well, you know what? And I thought about what it must feel like to be T-boned at speed. You know what? I decided to stick with this. Now I'm passing on that information. Somehow I've survived riding motorcycles many, many miles and many, many years. Since before I was a teenager, I've always owned more than one motorcycle. So in that sandwich of experience, there's always a couple little jewels. That's one of the jewels. Okay, so that I rambled on and on. I hope you didn't fall asleep or go for a six-pack of beer to get through that. This is the original windshield that I got, and I painted it. I did not care for it with just black windshield because it just didn't match anything on a bike. I love it being blue. This one has the little, I'll call them winglets. They look like the little MotoGP winglets. I did all the test fitting and the priming yesterday. Today's job is to get it in blue, and the weather is spectacular. So I'm going to go load up the paint in the gun and get started. Now, I always use Indasa paper. Luciano supplied this, and this is the kind of information I like to share. This is probably from Home Depot or Lowe's. It's a commercial. And I would say I used it yesterday. And it's an okay paper, but it's not Indasa. So if you're going to pay the same amount of money, and if maybe this is a lot cheaper, I don't know, because Luciano bought it, not me. I would always, if you shop on the internet for paper, pay the price for Indasa sandpaper. This, at the end of sanding apart, first off, it cracked. That's the kind of information. Not bad. I'm not bad-mouthing and saying don't ever buy it, but be aware. Even if it's cheaper, this is not the quality that the Indasa is. The Indasa is always my first choice, and that's good information. So this is our project's bench, and today we're going to try to do. This is Turbo Steve's fender. He's already got it in prime. I think it needs a little wet sanding. This has a little roughness to it. We could use up that Gator paper, and that's a good thing to use it up on. And this is for his cafe bike that we've featured many times on the video. I think it's a Hugger. And while I'm painting, now the advantage of doing this, and this is another piece of good information, I'm going to paint my windshield part. While it's drying, I'll paint this part. Then I'll mix one batch of clear and paint both parts without having to mix a second batch of clear and clean the gun the second time. So a little efficiency there. That's the kind of information that a backyard mechanic, that you learn things the hard way. When you can pass that on, I think it's really great. Now, I'm not sure you can see, but the quality to all of these finishes, and this is one that's really old, the quality of the finish and the quality of the buffing and that, this is what I like to pass on and share to people. Because even, I'll give an example, when Glenn was learning how to paint here, or Najat, both of them, you'd work and you'd be all dirty, and at the end of the day, when you put that final buffing on, and Glenn had this big giant buffing wheel, he was buffing out his Kawasaki, at the end of the day, you have something worth sharing. Now, there's always little things you can pick up from a video, and I watch videos on YouTube all the time, even on subjects I know I'm not going to buy a tractor. But I like to watch all the videos and things just so I know what's going on. Now, in this case, this is the paper I said was probably not really great for wet sanding, but it was certainly okay for dry sanding. And where I had to fill it, I normally wouldn't really have to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and just put on a spritz of primer, because that fillet is something I created and I want it to be perfect. And as long as I have the sandpaper out, I'll go over Turbo Steve's part and get these ready for paint work. This edge here is something you see, so I want that to be absolutely flawless. And having these corners matched, after I did the fit yesterday, I thought, that was pretty good. Karen came out to the garage and I said, what do you think? Karen's a trained artist with many years of training, and she gave me the thumbs up. So if Jose doesn't like it, too bad. But anyway, that's why I like having evil twin parts too. If halfway through a season I want to, like putting on a different shirt or something, just feel good about it. Now, I'm dressing off the edges. The main part of this is fine. I'm looking right up here. I know there was a little edge that I didn't have as smooth as I wanted. But it's all this little detail stuff. And a lot of this comes from a lifetime of building model airplanes where every little detail counted. And when they gave out the appearance awards, the people that were giving out the awards knew what they were doing, because they were modelers. So they knew about all the little fillet tricks and everything you can do to disguise errors. Anyway, we're going to get this painted today. It is a fabulous day for paint. I suspect by the end of the day, these parts will both be shining and in their final coat of clear. And Steve will be a happy guy. Now, Luciano's graciously donated some of his clear, because I'm out of clear. And I wanted to thank Joe Padula. We used up what was left over from his Ducati repair. I may as well just run this up here. But this is what this sandpaper is fine for. But I really don't like it for wet sanding, because the little grit got into the... And I always think, oh, there'll be some in the part itself. So I'm going to tack rag that down. That one's ready. We'll do Steve's part next. Okay, because we dry sanded this, a quick tack rag and it'll get off some of the dust. We have the blue Chromax already mixed up, and we are ready to paint. And this is a part that has to be painted on both sides, because when you look down on an MT09, you look down into the clock and the instruments, this is an amount of this you see, so I want this whole thing. Simpler to just paint the whole thing. Now, talk about good information worth sharing. I've just turned the compressor on. I killed off the sound because you get a headache from this compressor. But one of the things is to leave the valve open when you're not using a compressor so moisture doesn't build up inside. And drain the moisture. Drain the moisture every time you paint, beginning and end. Now, the blue paint that we've used on the MT09 is Chromax. Chromax, C-R-O-M-A-X. And if you look that up on the internet, just put in the word Chromax. There's an awful lot of good informative videos of how to paint cars and how to paint other stuff by professionals. And there's some really good tips out there for if you're painting a car or anything big. My concern is always I'm painting smaller things I can hold in my hand. And so I don't have to deal with the things of putting it in a spray booth and different things like that. But I have been experimenting with force drying the paint. The Chromax really works good. It's a premium paint and it covers beautifully. Now, while that's drying, we don't dry things in the house while we have guests here. Today we're having guests. And one has the clear on. You can see how it changes the color a little bit. We'll get the clear on that. Half hour, 45 minutes, it'll dry out here. It's been a perfect day for painting so far, but I've rarely had two parts where one had the clear and one didn't. But you could see the difference in the color. I could see it anyway. Now, what I'm doing today is called leapfrogging. It's one part is drying and I'm working on the other part. So I'm going to go down and do that fender now, get some black paint in the gun, and paint up that fender for Turbo Steve. Okay, so this is Turbo Steve's part, and again, thank you for yesterday. Turbo Steve was a big help. This is a custom part for his Visione. Now, I only have one suggestion that I found the hard way. This is the kind of information worth sharing. I don't know how this attaches to the bike, whether you have to drill holes, but if you have holes to drill, always drill them before you paint. You don't want to drill a hole in something painted. Now this is rough. I don't know why. Probably because he used an old can of primer. Doesn't matter. We're going to hit it with this Gator Sandpaper Dry. I'm going to tack rag it down. And this is very, very easy. I have black in the gun already. Of course, I painted Luciano's. In fact, it's Luciano's black paint. So thank you, Luciano. And Luciano's clear. He agreed to donate some clear to Turbo Steve's part here. And that's what's nice about the A-Team. And if you watched yesterday's video, I went on and on about it. Is we have each donated something to the other people. Whether it's a day of working on your shop like it was for Glenn, or it's a simple painting of a part. I've tried to do little mitzvahs for all my friends. And it's worked out well for me. I've managed to have a good life with that maybe I wouldn't have if I didn't do that. Now I got to make a handle for this. This is going to be a problem. The edges are not real radius. I want to get that nice. And this is the kind of thing, if you put 5 minutes extra into a part, it pays big dividends. Now just some useful information. You see how much primer is on here? Now I know Steve knows how to paint. There's a lot of primer on here. Now, and it looks like it might even be, you know, too much, but I sanded a lot of it off. But the problem is you don't want to build up a thickness of primer. You don't want to have the primer 1/8 of an inch thick. The minimum primer, and you can see how it just powders off. The minimum primer, the primer is only there to act as glue. It glues the paint to the part. It's not there to be filler. If you need big filler, you should use filler. And they make the 4C, of course, which we used yesterday, or the red product that I don't like to use at all. I never have any use for that. I try not to use it. Or if you're really a money's no object repair or on a collector bike where the parts are worth thousands of dollars, use CA. And we've demonstrated that on many, many videos. And that's probably one of the things that I've contributed back to the world of, you know, the YouTube world of repairing things. I don't see that out on YouTube. I've never seen it. Okay, and Luciano has graciously donated some of his black paint. This is Omni. This is a less expensive paint than the Chromax, but still perfectly good for what we're doing. Okay, as always, we need some kind of a handle on this. And the hot glue is a good way to do it, because you can just, when you're done, just break it right off. This has always worked pretty well. Another good little trick, and that is a good trick, because a lot of people that start painting in the very beginning, they don't realize how important it is. You have to have a way to hold the part while you paint it. You can't grab it and you run out of places to hold it. This is a good trick. So before I go any further, this is a question that gets asked all the time. This is the kind of stuff I want to cover on the question and answer stuff. These are the Harbor Freight guns, and they're about $15. Maybe they're more. I don't know. I haven't bought one in a while. But there's just something everybody always wants to know about the needle. Well, you buy the gun and you do this. You put it all the way in. Get this part out of here. Now it's all the way in as far as it'll go. You can't pull the trigger. Nothing happens. Open it one turn. And I have this marked here so I can see it from here. One turn open, you get air. Another turn. Roughly. This is it. You don't measure it. You just go by. Sooner or later, it's going to start to spray material. Go a half a turn. Usually around 3, it'll start spraying. Oh, there we go. It's starting to spray. Now, let me show this up close. Don't know if I can do this. See, I have a little bit of material coming out of there. Let's see. I don't know how this is going to play out. Okay, that's not enough paint. So I want to go 1/4 at a time. That looks like pretty close. If in doubt, in cold weather, let it be dry. Now let's just see. Just always paint the part that you don't see right away. So if, in case you get a run or a drip, let's see what the spray pattern looks like. Ah, fish eyes everywhere. Poor Steve has a fish eye problem. Anyway, but I want to see, if I want to adjust the gun now, it looks a little bit like it's got a little too much material. And that's not quite enough. That's like an airbrush. So I want to be in between those two settings. Let me open it up just a little more. And that looks about right. Now on future videos, especially if we do a question and answer set of videos, that's a common thing. If I just bought a gun and how do I get it to set the first initial setup? Well, it's not exactly what I showed because you have to take into account the temperature, but we'll cover it in the future. So now by leapfrogging these two things, this one is already dry and ready for the clear. This one will be in a half an hour, 20 minutes. In this temperature now I can mix up one batch of clear, and thank you Luciano for donating the clear, and we will get the 2 coats of clear on everything, but thin, even coats, not one big or two big glocky coat. Thin, like it's coming out of an airbrush. And I hope that information of setting up a gun, we're going to cover that in detail. The next time I buy a brand new gun, I'm going to do an unboxing. But right now I don't need a gun, so if anybody wants to donate a gun, I'll do the demo. So this is the clear, and it's got it off the internet. Now this is medium hardener. I would suggest if you buy it, buy fast hardener, unless you paint in a spray booth, because the paint will stay sticky and tacky longer with this. But we're in a position now we don't have any of the fast hardener. We used up. And thank you, Joe Padula. He donated what was left over from his Ducati to this project. Actually, all the people in the A-team have shared the materials over the years, and we've all been the winners. I'll mix this up 4-to-1, and we're ready to start spraying. So here, before I start spraying, I do the exact test that I just showed. Open a little bit, open, get the spray pattern right, and when you're ready, paint the part. And I always suggest if you're new to painting, just practice. Just go get something to paint. Go get some light bulbs or some. You can always wipe the paint right off with some acetone when you're done. But save some old motorcycle parts or paint your neighbor's car, especially if he's got a brand new one. Just run over and use the door for a test pattern. Just kidding. I hope you know that. Anyway, and always candle the part before you put it aside to dry. Candle. And always take into account, when it's colder, paint takes longer to dry, and you want to put on more thin coats, not one big or two big thick coats. Set the gun to spray a little bit more like an airbrush, nice and dry. Just put one coat on, one coat on, one coat on, rather than trying to get it all on in one time. And of course at the end, candle it for any dry spots, and you're good to go. So Steve's part came out really, really nice. We got that put in the garage now, and that's ready to, unless Steve wants to buff it out, and I'm not sure that he does. If he does, that's a simple thing. Just let it dry a day or two, or the longer you let it dry, the better. But anyway, we have to leave parts out in the garage overnight tonight. Nothing can go in. I wanted to do a final candling on this part. I wanted to look at this from every angle, and if I see anything that looks like I need to change it, before I do any other material or anything, I can really. Now here's the case. When I see the edges, I try to get extra on the edges, especially the edge that faces the person driving the bike. That's a critical thing, that you see that. And I like to look at it out in the bright sun. It's good if it dries in the sun, because you wouldn't do this if it's 90 degrees out, because the paint might bubble up, but you can see the pearlescent little color in that paint. Oh, that's one of my favorite colors. Now Steve's, I needed to get another coat of clear on this. It looks like this part is going to be just nice, even if he doesn't buff it out. But again, that's his choice, and he knows how to buff. He buffs as well as I do. He knows how to polish mufflers too, and he was a big help yesterday. So looking at, now this is candling, and I'm going to describe that on a future video, one of those question and answers. What is candling and how does it work? Now, once it's in the garage, you can see the reflection on it, and this is going to dry up overnight. I'm not sure it could get a lot better than that. I thought for a minute, and I actually was wrong. I took the bike out. I want to take some pictures and maybe get a short ride on the RD, but it didn't work out. Now, when I did the bike run up the other day, I did all the bikes except the RD, so I thought this would be a good chance. Just let it run in the driveway a while. Well, just get it running. I always like to hear the sound anyway. Oh, I love the sound of this bike. I was dying to go for a ride, but it just wasn't in the cards. So while the paint is drying, I was thinking about heading out on the RD for a little while, but what happened is Miles came over early today, and we're going to have family stuff for the rest of the day. What a great day this was. Whoa, we got so much done. What a day. So the only thing left today is to put Luciano's tank out in the garage because we're pretty much done with it. And he's going to put his own stickers on it. He decided he wants to put them where he wants to put them. And actually one of the questions I had on was the thing, why don't you put the clear on? Well, I do, but he wanted to do it, so that's the way that worked out. And I'm going to put this in the garage. He's got a new rug for my garage, so he's going to pick this up, but I will be out all morning with errands for the family. I probably won't get to see him unless, who knows, our paths cross. But I'm sure he'll be happy, and he does have a new bike that he doesn't want me to tell anybody what kind of bike it is yet. He's going to paint it, and then it'll be an unveiling. So after a day ends, I always look back a little bit. I always look at the pictures I've taken during the day. I had the RD and the Mt09 out in the driveway, and at least got the engine to run on the RD. That's always the sound, and that just gets your blood boiling a little bit if you're a two-stroke guy. The windshield, tomorrow I'll decide how I'm going to paint the trim on it. Don't know, or the next day. I'd probably have to dry one more day before I put tape on it. But that'll be on the next part of this video. And the RD. As 1977, I had an RD back then. And I bought one. I actually had one that was brand new, and 6 that were either wrecks I rebuilt or whatever. But just having it, being able to go smell some two-stroke oil, and I was hoping I'd get that quick ride around town, maybe an hour or so, but didn't work out today. Just didn't work out. But in my family stuff always comes first. And with the kids living here now while the house is being worked on, the pod is loaded. The contractor's over there working on it day and night. So the bottom line is, life is good. The family's all healthy. We have motorcycles to keep us out of Rikers Island. We like to share the daily rides. We like to share the adventures. We're usually riding in the New Jersey, New York area. It's a little mountainous area. It's interesting, nice all season, except when the roads get too salty or full of ice. And we do ride all 7 of our bikes. But what we really try to do is share useful information. And that's, as I said in the beginning of this video, that's the direction I want to take the channel in the near future. I want to try to incorporate some dedicated videos that just cover question and answer. And it's not unusual that a person that's sharing information, in the course of sharing information, you learn something because other people give you ideas and stuff they've done. And in the end, what happens is you're both winners. And that's really the bottom line here. That especially in things like paint, things like, any work you're doing on a motorcycle, pulling an engine out of a Ducati, if you can find somebody who's already done it, and look at their video, well, it's going to save you a lot of time and energy. And I want to thank everybody that contributes back to YouTube. I feel an obligation to do it. I'm sure a lot of other people do. And to me, it's just great. I enjoy making a video. I enjoy editing them. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We post every day. I hope we'll see you tomorrow.